Good morning. February 17th, 2019. It's been a minute. Been busy doing stuff. You know that. Working. I want to say a little bit of something about the president having to declare a national emergency and what's going on and what that means a little bit to us. And first off, I wanted to point out that Trump, I like to just call him Don, make it easier. Don said right before declaring this national emergency over immigration and building this wall that he said, I don't need to declare this national emergency if the Democrats would just vote so we can put this wall there to stop the human trafficking and the drug trafficking and the illegals from entering the country that could harm us. I wouldn't have to invoke this national emergency at all. So he said it straight up front. It's pretty obvious. The reason it's happening is because of it can't get done any other way. And if you ask anyone in South Texas, West Texas, Arizona, Nevada, they can tell you right away that these walls are necessary in these locations because, first off, these places are mainly in no man's land, if you will. There's nothing there. And human trafficking is enough. If one human is trafficked, that's one too many. Human trafficking is worse than murder. It's slavery. So we were just stopping that and illegal, illicit drug trafficking. Wouldn't a wall be enough to just stop human trafficking in those spots, in those locations? I don't understand the Democratic mind that says no, that forces Don to, our president, Don, to, make a decision like this and declare a national emergency. Now, what does it mean when the president declares a national emergency? It sounds like a question I'm going to answer. Green tea, right? Blueberry green tea with a Kai. Not only is it a beautiful color, it's got a little bit of caffeine in there and some blueberry Kai. It's very good for you, Kai. Very good, very good. I think it's I can't remember the brand, but that's probably best because I'm not doing commercials anyway, not yet. So what does it mean when there's 5 main things that occur when the president declares a national emergency? Number one, we got to think of things like the difference between the Constitution, what it says about Congress actually having powers during emergency, and then it being transferred to the president if he has to declare a national emergency. Even because in some ways there could be people in Congress who are insurrectionists that want to stop the government for a number of reasons. Therefore, the president can't take control just as he has. Now, one of the big questions is when this happens is it's suspending the writ of habeas corpus, which means if you're suspected of terrorism or helping, in this case, it would be helping illegals get across the border or funding drugs or trafficking across the border on the American side, that you could just be taken to jail. You wouldn't even have to be arrested, Mirandized, or nothing. You could summarily be just picked up and taken to jail because the writ of habeas corpus is suspended. So that just means you can summarily be taken to jail if they have evidence on you for doing something wrong. Now, this is just if they have evidence on you. During the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was criticized for suspending the writ of habeas corpus, and he said, well, he didn't like it. He thought it went against the Constitution too, but he said he saw no other way to preserve the Union than to be able to have these extenuating powers to arrest anyone suspected of covertly working with the Confederacy that could harm the Union. And we see it go through time. So one of the biggest ideas is the Atlantic Atlantic.com. I believe this is the old Atlantic Monthly. It's just Atlantic.com. Has a 5-statement plan, so to speak. And, you know, some of it is, it's just Atlantic.com. Some of it is real. Some of it is conjecture. In part one, the Atlantic declares that the president having these emergency powers is akin to a loaded weapon. And it is in a way. But in every one of the cases of these 5 that the Atlantic brings up, it's important to remember that these extraordinary circumstances that can happen to the people they're talking about in this document are not, by far and large, citizens of the United States or law-abiding citizens, even on a green card. These are citizens. These powers of the president allow, if anyone, to be targeted for anything. It has to do with illegal immigration, drug trafficking, human trafficking, something of this nature, or suspected funding it. Like, you know, it's going around. There's a Soros argument going around right now where he funds, it's in courts all over the world, where he funds immigrants to go into countries like ours. George Soros, once again, look it up. George Soros, once again, funding immigrants, migrants specifically, to go into these countries just as an insurrectionist, if you will. And he should be stopped. The Russians have had him on a hit list for 20 years. You don't have to kill him, but make him stop or tell him you're going to kill him. I don't know. But on another note, we got our own problems. So the reality is, it is a loaded weapon for the president to have all this power, but he's only going to be using it supposedly. Now, we got to watch this with respect to building this wall to stop human trafficking, which I think we all agree is tantamount to anything bigger. It's paramount in this case, tantamount to murder. Slavery is murder. Kidnapping is murder. And stopping illegal drugs and slowing the flow of illegal folks coming into America, some good, some bad, some horrible, rotten murderers, just like anything. And that's what this is about. So the laws he would enact that could make him, you know, as a loaded weapon, as the Atlantic calls him, would be only to those people who are not law-abiding Americans, you know, who do their job and work every day, who have no affiliations with illegals and illegal activity, be it drugs or human trafficking or something. Now, there is an interesting part here. The Atlantic talks about an internet kill switch, and it gets into all kinds of paranoia conjecture here, but where Trump could theoretically take over the internet because if, you know, communists or, you know, say communists or socialists try to take over the internet as if they haven't already. Trump could go in and have extraordinary powers to, you know, do things to the internet because it's, you know, a communications tool that can be used against the United States. And then the theory here at the Atlantic would be he'd use it for his own power, make sure the pages only went to his stuff and were meta tagged for Trump, pro-Trump, you know. It got a little bizarre there. But, you know, it's sort of like, well, the president could take everybody's stuff down and put his up, and that's all we'd have. And I'm like, damn, you mean the Van Halen videos and everything are gone? That sucks. But the idea is there would be, but it wouldn't be any different back in the day. Like if we'd have been in a state of war and the FCC, they took over the television stations as they did, you know, the emergency broadcast system is what it was called. If this had been an actual emergency, you wouldn't be able to call or listen to anything because we'd have just been nuked to Flashpoint by the base in Dayton, Ohio. Thank you, Ray Patterson. The other thing was that, again, it's legal related. They said Trump can do a sanctioning Americans. Well, this is true again, but you would have to be tied in with trying to transport illegals into America or human trafficking, drug trafficking again, funding it, these things. And these people could be sanctioned, businesses who do business. Now, these things have failed under other presidents because people inevitably get arrested for things and are accused of things that aren't real. So there's always going to be a group here that do get accused falsely, no matter what. In this circumstance, it's going to happen. Businesses will go out of business and never come back. Things will happen along the way. So there will not be, this is not a victimless event. But it didn't start out as a victimless event. It started out as a victimization on the United States, by us having illegals and human trafficking and significant illegal drug trafficking pressed on us through Mexico. The other one from the Atlantic is the fourth one, is boots on the ground. We know what this means. The day tanks will roll in America will be a day we shove a daisy in a 120mm cannon on the front of one. Trying to remember Vietnam. I can't imagine a tank firing around in the United States unless there was a foreign enemy down the street. It's just almost ridiculous. But it's true. The federal troops could come out to help law enforcement only, if it was something to do with illegals or drug trafficking or something in this nature. Again, it has to be around the event. You just can't start wiretapping people because he thinks you watch too much porn or something, or your wife wants to watch more, or whatever it is. Remember, it's Sunday. So they say, blue laws are over, go buy something. And so the boots on the street, and then the last one is kindling an emergency. And all presidents have agreed on this, that, theoretically, having a national state of emergency, a president or anyone else could use this to kindle an emergency. Now that sounds kind of crazy, but that's exactly the theory, and it's possible. So the powers that come with declaring a national emergency could allow a president to actually kindle an emergency. And anytime this has happened, I remember they said Truman tried to take over steel companies in Korea, and the Supreme Court shot him down twice on that and said, no, you can't, no, you can't. And they thought that was this kindling, of an emergency, taking it and making it worse, taking over steel companies. And the Supreme Court said, no, you're not going to take these people's steel company over, Harry S. Truman. A moment in time. Korean War. Still know a couple vets from there. That was one of the worst. Those guys didn't get any love at all. None. Peace to Korean War veterans and all war veterans for that matter. Peace to the American people, because we may be war veterans before this is all over. Hell, we were coming in anyway. Nonetheless, we're in a state of national emergency. It's all because of illegal activity at our southern border. Go to El Paso. Ask anyone. We need a wall, whether we want it or not. Hope you have a good Sunday, y'all. Take care of yourselves. Peace out now. Rock and roll.